Berserk episode 380 was released almost 2 weeks ago, and despite looking somewhat transitional, there is quite a bit to unpack. After my previous video with theories for the remainder of the Eastern Exile chapter and Fantasia arc, I think it's only fitting to explore this last episode with you guys against the backdrop of said theories. First things first, let's look at the events portrayed in this episode, which I obviously recommend reading before watching this video. The latest release opens on a high note with the combined forces of the Kushan army and citizens, the mages from Skellig Island and Guts' companions, sealing an overwhelming victory over the Trolls 2.0 released over the Kushan capital by an as of yet undisclosed force. In particular, we see Roderick praising Farnese for her magical intervention, Daiba confessing to Serpico that the magical light provided by the mages could be enough to challenge the Falcon of Light, and Isidro and Azan looking over a crowd of regular Kushans cheering for the victory. In that moment, Puck replies to Isidro, and we can't really tell whether seriously or not, that at this rate they might not even need Guts to get well. This comment reminds the elf of the Black Swordsman and prompts him to go look for him, while Azan and Isidro follow suit. The action switches to Rakshas, who in the previous episode managed to evade Salat and is heading for Guts' cell. In one of the most heartbreaking scenes of the entire manga, we witness Guts welcoming the assassin without a shred of opposition, calling him his angel of death. After slicing the prison bars like butter, the apostle is so gleeful to have reached his intended target that he doesn't notice Salat coming up behind him and cutting his throat with his Katar's blades. Rakshas compliments the old master right before melting into a pool of black liquid, seemingly dead. Salat, which we have never seen losing his cool ever since the Black Swordsman defeated him twice in combat years before, falls in a fit of rage and violently grabs Guts, yelling at him and asking why he was so passive in front of death. The Tapasa block him on Daiba's request, and the Kushan wizard seems terrified by what could have happened if they didn't get there in time. The last image we are presented with is Guts in the same comatose state, with Rakshas' mask on the ground among the pool of black liquid. In the next two scenes, we see Erika rejoining Rickard and manifesting her fear and worry about having to once again escape a war zone, and finally, after a couple of years without any news from her, we are presented with Shierke's astral body traveling through the magic word tree and reaching Falconia, and stating her goal of finding Casca. Well, these are the mere facts, but was it a good episode? Overall, I think it was pretty good. It seems Kujimori and Studio Gaga are getting more and more confident with their drawing style and with their storytelling choices. I like both very much, especially with the action scenes, although I must confess that I feel like Miura's visual mastery is unreachable. Also, the current art direction seems to lack a little bit in terms of grimness, which is something this manga has always excelled at, but I will gladly sacrifice that, no god hand pun intended, in order to see the continuation and conclusion of a story that has lodged itself in my mind and in my heart decades ago, and I won't let go. I can only assume many of you feel the same way, but I would love to hear your opinions in the comments. I also think this was a good episode because it handled many different storylines and worked as a satisfying pivot into the next stage, which will chronicle Shierke's mission to find Casca and bring her back to Guts. As for the theories I expressed in the last video and new ones, I thought long and hard about whether I was wrong in forecasting Slan's intervention, given that the vortex in the sky above the Kushan capital has disappeared and the trolls were defeated. I could very well be mistaken, of course, but after careful consideration, I still think the God Hand member's appearance is going to happen. There are too many details pointing to that. First of all, what was the vortex, if not a portal? We haven't seen it associated specifically with the Clifford and the trolls in the past, but such phenomena are always associated with a god hand appearance, and I doubt the mage's spells and the Kushan soldiers could have stopped a god hand member from appearing. I also don't think the portal was Griffith's doing, because he has been reincarnated, and despite his many supernatural abilities, he has never used sky twisters to show up. This must be Slan, otherwise the trolls would make no sense. The other significant aspect of these last few episodes is Rakshas' motivation. We get to hear his thoughts, saying that he died thanks to Rickard's bazooka, and the logical segue is that he wasn't tasked by the Falcon of Light to resuscitate in the capital and to target Guts, because he would have expressed it in his thoughts. So my theory is that Rakshas was revived by Slan, who is at all times aware of Guts' whereabouts, actions and feelings. In fact, during the Clifford sequence, she told him, and I quote, "I've missed you, boy. It's been so long. No, I felt you at all times, in the cave, at the tower, throughout countless nights. I felt all your passions." And the other smoking gun is the following passage, also from episode 219, stated by Slan after Guts' first failed attempt to hit her with Dragon Slayer, and forgive the sexual innuendo. "Now defy me, struggler, take the big thick thing, penetrate me, or can you? You're only human after all, or rather, why not make a sacrifice, as he did?" These words manifested Slan's clear, unmistakable intention of getting Guts to sacrifice someone or something and joining the demon rankings. That passage foreshadowed what's going to happen after Shierke's foray in Falconia is over. I believe Slan summoned Rakshas and asked him to reach Guts, not to kill him, but to torture him to an inch of his death, which is the required state for a ritualistic sacrifice. Rakshas' black pool and mask on the ground in this last moment in the dungeon during episode 380 is an indication that Rakshas is not dead yet. Otherwise, as shown with Wild's death, a small vortex would have opened to draw his soul into the abyss, leaving behind his dead human body. Now, I don't know what Guts will be asked to sacrifice once Rakshas gets back up and finishes the job. At first I thought it would be some of Guts' companions, possibly Farnese, Serpico or Isidore, but at the moment Puck is headed for Guts' cell, and sacrificing a magical being would make for something unheard of in the manga with unfathomable consequences. One of you guys, Meow Mixbro, made a very cool comment suggesting Guts might be asked to sacrifice his Dragon Slayer. That's something I had not thought about, and I think it's actually a possibility, given that the egg of the perfect world had no loved ones and he sacrificed the world to become an apostle. I also have a theory that Irvine, the archer apostle, sacrificed his own bow, and that's why he became fused with his body. In that case, the Dragon Slayer would become part of Guts' body, but on a personal note, I really don't want to see him lose his humanity. I would like him to renounce temptation and stay human, to kick plenty of demonic ass, as he's always done. Anyway, I have one last consideration. The only thing that could stop Guts from surrendering to Slan's temptation is getting Casca back, and that's why I expect Shierke to be successful in her mission. But there's also another variable which doesn't get talked about very often. We still don't know the true extent and meaning of magical beings' true names. It's been hinted at as something very important that will come into play, so even though my thoughts are a lot less refined on this front, I wonder if Puck's true name could have the power to stop Guts from turning into a demon, and possibly to get him out of his desperation. Well, that's it for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.